Hi everyone, it's Shannon, the Daily DIYer. I am so glad you're here today. I also want to thank Cricut for sponsoring today's video. Recently, I found these great blank front door signs with built-in boxes at Hobby Lobby. They were priced right at $50, but I knew this would be a super easy DIY. One I could make cheaper and in less than an hour. This would make the perfect beginner project, and I'll show you how. Plus, we're going to also add our own little twist and spin to this. If you don't have any scrap wood on hand, head to your local hardware store. You're going to need to grab two 1x12s that are 4 foot long each. They were only $10.40 each at my local hardware store. Of course, it's going to vary depending on where you're shopping. And the cool thing is our first board is done, ready to go. It's the right length, no cutting needed. The second board is where we're going to do all of our cuts. We're going to start by squaring up the end to make sure it is good and square, and then we can measure over for our first actual board cut, which is going to be over to 11 1/4 inches long. You need 2 boards at that length. This is basically giving us 2 square pieces of wood. Even though we purchased a 1x12, these are actually only 11 1/4 inches wide. Once we have those two, we're going to need 2 more boards for our box, and those two are going to be cut at 10 3/8 inches each. Once you got those 4 boards cut, then we can start building. Here's another cut list on your screen if you need to take a quick screenshot for reference. Now we can go ahead and sand down all of our pieces, making sure to get the front, backs, all of the sides. I'm using 80 grit sandpaper here to just smooth everything out. Then we can get to actually building our board. I'm adding some wood glue in between each one of the seams and then using my brad nailer to tack all the pieces together. The first one is actually going to be on the bottom, so we're making an L shape with one of those 11 1/4 inch square pieces. This is the second 11 1/4 inch square pieces going on the front of our box, tacking that down with the brad nails on the bottom. And now you can kind of start to see the shape of this wood box coming together. Now we need to add in the side pieces. So 3 sides, got some wood glue and just a few brad nails to tack those together on both the sides and also the bottom. At this point, I went ahead and stood this up, and we just need to add that last side in there. It takes a little effort to wedge it in, but once you get it in there, it holds itself nice and tight. Add those brad nails, and that is literally it. So like I said, this is a great beginner, easy, less than an hour build. And now for the most fun part, and that is personalizing it. You can, of course, paint yours whatever color you want. I'm doing 1 coat of a plain white chalk paint so I can still see some of that wood grain coming through. But you could also stain this, which will help protect the wood and also make your sign last through any kind of weather. And we're also going to make this even more special and personalized with our Cricut machine. A Cricut is a smart cutting machine that allows you to create personalized projects with hundreds of materials. It works with a software called Design Space that comes free with your machine. This is where you create your projects and browse hundreds of images and fonts. Once you've created your design, Design Space will send it to your machine to cut. I'm going to be using my Cricut Explore 3 along with some awesome material. It's called Smart Stencil material, and this is a really cool product because you don't have to use a mat, and it's going to cut this large size design for us all at one time. So I went into my Cricut Design Space, typed out the word welcome and put each letter on a new line, scaled it down, picked a pretty bold font so that it would stand out on my sign. And then once I had the image looking the way I wanted it to, I made sure to weld it all together, then headed into my cut settings. I did center this design within the space because this is a stencil. You want it kind of away from the edges and the borders. Select that Smart Stencil material before sending it over to the Cricut machine. It's super easy to load this material too. You just feed it right in. It comes on a long roll, and then you just press the button. It'll suck it in there, press the play button, and it will cut your design for you. You do want to make sure you have plenty of space on your work surface to allow for this large image to cut. And once it's ready, it will just feed right out of there. You'll cut that extra off and flip it over and start weeding out the actual letters for this. We're also going to use some transfer tape to easily transfer our stencil onto our welcome wood sign. Definitely take your time as you are applying this. Make sure it is centered and level and even before you press it down. Here's a little tip too. If you take your fingers and run it over the letter edges, that is going to really seal the edges in and you'll get less paint bleed. We are going to be using some chalk paint again for this. Use whatever color you want. I love chalk paint because it doesn't bleed so much underneath the stencils. I use a foam paintbrush, get a little bit of paint and just dab it up and down on the stencil. No wiping back and forth because that will help peel the stencil up too, and we don't want that. 2 coats of that. Once it was dry, then you can come back and remove that stencil. I will make sure to link all the products I'm using in today's video down in the description box below to make it easy for you to find if you want to try this out too. I was super impressed with the stencil material. There was no paint bleed whatsoever, and that is a win in my books when it comes to stenciling. Here's a look at that welcome sign, but we're not done yet. These are 10-inch wood discs I found at Hobby Lobby, $7.99, and you get 6 of these circles total. We're gonna make this interchangeable, but in a very unique way. I did come in and I painted each circle a different color. I wanted some for every holiday and season, so I made one red, one yellow. I was loving this new peacock color I found at Walmart for their chalk paint and Waverly brand, and this is my favorite color of all, moss. So once all of those were painted and dried, I came into my Cricut design space again and created new designs using their images and also their fonts to create some cute little interchangeable signs for the front of this. I really love that you can still use mats with the Cricut machine, which means you can use whatever vinyl that you have, prefer, or want to use. It's also a great way to use up any kind of scraps that you might have, whether it's vinyl or cardstock, any kind of scrap. That way nothing goes to waste. You just select the mat when you go to send it to your machine and it will set it all up for you. Then once we get the design cut, we can go ahead and weed it out, which means we're basically just removing any parts of the decal that we don't want on our project. And then it's so easy. The same thing we did with the stencil, you'll add some transfer tape on top that'll peel it off of the paper backing, and then you can add your decal onto your project. In this case, those really great wood circles. So the last one was a great one for everyday use, one you could use year-round, but because we're making this interchangeable, I thought it'd be fun to make ones for the different holidays and seasons. This design is from the Cricut Design Space. I just cut it with some matte black vinyl and then applied it to the yellow circle. The next one, we're gonna create one for Christmas time, another design from Cricut Design Space, and then I was able to curve my letters. In Cricut Design Space, there's a curve feature on there that's super easy to use. And again, just applying this onto the red circle. And last but not least, we are going to make a really fun one, which is a thank you for our delivery drivers. Stay tuned to the end, because I'm going to show you how to set these all up. This one got applied onto the peacock color, and then to apply these, we want to make these interchangeable, right? So this is a Velcro that is actually for outdoor use. So it's kind of a heavy duty hook and loop Velcro. You're going to apply a 2-part one to your first design and hang on to that. The next 3, we're just going to add the actual hook part because the loop part is going to go on our wood sign. So this is an easy way to center this. This one has both the hook and the loop on the back with the paper pulled off to reveal the adhesive. You'll then take your round and then just find the center, press that down firmly, and that will make the backing stick onto the wood sign. And then you can see here, it's pretty heavy duty and grabs on. And that is what will make our signs interchangeable. So here's what that sign looks like on our front porch. I love this because it's definitely an upgrade from the traditional welcome sign, since this one is now going to work for a lot of fun different ways. So this is just a fun way to use the house number 1. I added one of my ferns in there, which is luckily living still. I have no green thumb whatsoever. But this guy is making it. Looks really pretty in that little box in the front. The next one I want to show you set up is this one for our delivery drivers. I love this pop of blue. Hopefully it grabs attention of the delivery drivers. And then you just add a little bowl full of goodies in there, one that you can bring in and refill as hopefully your delivery drivers take those snacks with them. The next one is the summertime one. This is a fun idea, maybe not next to your front door, but if you have a back patio or if you have a swimming pool, this would be a fun idea. Just pop that sign onto the front, and then you can add beach towels in there, bug sprays in there, and you could even add some sunscreen and snacks in there too. So as you can see, you can do so many different things with this interchangeable welcome sign. And I had to get a little bit creative with the next one for Christmas time since it is June, almost July here and hot. So with the magic of the computer, I was able to overlay some snow, make it more of a Christmas vibe. And this one, again, I just had this giant Christmas tree, the closest thing to Christmas I could grab out of my Christmas closet. But you could also add some birch logs in here, some greenery, some Christmas lights. Get creative with this idea. This was such a fun project. I love that you can personalize it. Check the description box to all the products I used in today's video. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new, and I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I will see you in the next one. Have a creative day.